Tim Walz proves, once again, the president was right.
Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him, absolutely.
Walz and other Democrats, they are suddenly scrambling after fresh video leaks that throw yet another wrench into the narrative they thought they had locked down. Because apparently facts just never seem to land on the left side. And in a moment that's stranger than fiction, The View actually admits the agents involved in the deadly shooting of Alex Pretti now have something to build a case on after new evidence emerges. And trust me, this development, it didn't come with a group hug. Plus, a Somali woman goes viral claiming she was abused by ICE, but hold on to that thought, because in the biggest plot twist of the week, Pam Bondi somehow walks away with the last laugh. I'll explain how that happened. And later, remember this wild video from Fulton County, Georgia, back in 2020? It had Republicans seeing red. The FBI just seized election records there, and I'm gonna explain to you why this old tape is suddenly relevant again. Like, share with your friends and family. Also subscribe if you're new here, and welcome. Well, after watching the video I'm about to show you, I'm starting to better understand why President Trump called Governor Tim Walz the R word.
What they did was, and with Renee Good, what they did is they hit at the best of us doing activities that are at the core of what it means to be American.
Imagine this guy anywhere near the White House. Actually, don't do that. I would normally argue that he should have probably stuck to coaching football, but at this point, I'm not even sure he should be working with children. And the wild part in all this, he wasn't the only one choosing to humiliate himself. Elizabeth Warren, she jumped in too, delivering one of the most unintentionally embarrassing tributes you will hear all week. Watch this.
Caring for people was at the core of who he was. He was incapable of causing harm. Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there. I recognized his familiar stillness and signature calm composure.
Democrats seem to be dead wrong on every issue. Like it's the only thing they're actually consistent at. Over at CNN, they even tried to claim Alex Pretti was someone I'd want one of my daughters to bring home.
They killed the wrong guy, right? Because this is like the perfect guy. Alex Pretti is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be. A decent human being who was serving humanity, serving sick veterans, who is, there is nothing that has been said about that man that isn't wonderful. And so they can't malign him. They can't malign him because we have the videos.
Turns out Anna didn't actually have all the videos, because in this one, Pretti's clearly egging on federal agents, daring them to react. And if this is what decent human beings look like to the left, then their moral compass isn't just broken, it is spinning out of control. Unfortunately, for Anna, once this video hit the internet, she had to sit there and listen while Scott Jennings set the record straight.
Yeah, look, I think the video that we've seen adds context to what he was probably doing over a period of time. I think the narrative has been that he was just an innocent protester or some sort of an observer. It's obvious he was part of some organized effort to show up where federal law enforcement was and engage in some way, whether that engagement was recording or blowing whistles or whatever, or in the video's case, kicking in the taillight of a car. He was obviously there to do something.
He was absolutely looking for a viral moment. You don't spit on law enforcement if you're trying to de-escalate a situation. You don't kick out the taillights of an agent's car unless you're actively looking to get arrested. He wanted his face plastered across every media outlet as the man who stopped ICE. And unfortunately for him and his family, he got a very different kind of viral moment. One he's not here to see play out, and one that isn't making him look like the martyr he was hoping to be. And now, here's The View trying to cope with this new video.
A representative of the parents of Alex Pretti confirmed that it's their son in the new video from 11 days ago. 11 days before he was shot and killed, that appears to show him confronting federal agents and kicking out a taillight. And you know who and the others, baby, they were waiting for something like this to happen. So they claim that this destroys the narrative that he was a peaceful protester. Again, this was 11 days before they shot him 10 times.
Now watch what happens when Sonny Hostin accidentally admits that this video is actually a big win for the agents who shot Pretti.
What is concerning to me is that when you see him kick out that light, that is destruction of federal property, and that is a crime.
Yes.
That you can be arrested for. My concern is now that this video provides those two officers who we saw shoot him 10 times with a self-defense claim.
But did they put together that that was the same person?
Well, he's wearing some of the same exact clothes.
But it feels like that's
we don't know. So the argument could be, we know who this was. He was an aggressive person.
And that's why they shot and killed him with 11 shots?
And now we see he has a gun. We feared for our lives. You always hear that with law enforcement. We fear for our lives. And that's why we shot him. And so as a lawyer, that's what I saw immediately.
First of all, the fact that Pretti was armed while spitting at an agent and kicking out a taillight, that matters. Because committing a crime while in possession of a firearm can actually elevate this to a felony. Second, it's very telling that the left is furious at the idea that law enforcement officers are allowed to fear for their safety. Newsflash, they have the right to do their jobs and come home to their families. And since they're clearly not winning on the facts, their next move is always the same: distort them. Just like MSNBC did when they photoshopped Alex Pretti's image to make him look more attractive. An obvious attempt to make viewers feel more sympathetic. I showed you this yesterday, and I also showed you how they did the exact opposite to Joe Rogan during COVID. When Rogan said he took ivermectin, CNN decided to make him look sickly and weak. Now I'm bringing this up to you again because Rogan finally reacted, and he absolutely torched the media for this.
Did you see what MSNBC did to his image?
Yeah, where they gussied
basically
it up.
Did the opposite of what CNN did to me. CNN during the COVID times turned me green, and they made me ugly and look like I was dying, and they made him handsome.
Yeah.
So people would be more sympathetic to him getting shot, which is kind of wild. Like, are ugly people less valuable to MSNBC?
Less marketable?
That is crazy to me. Like, look at the difference.
Yeah.
Look at the difference. They shortened up his face. They gave him a little bit of a tan. They widened his face a little bit, it seems like. They just made him a little handsomer. That one on the right is like the handsome brother, and the one on the left is like,
yeah.
Why couldn't I look like my
one on the
goddamn
right,
brother?
Yeah, the one on the right, they were twins, and he took more of the protein.
This is how far mainstream media is willing to go to deceive you, instead of just showing you authentic images and letting you form your own opinion. Now, as for the ICE operation currently unfolding in Minnesota, Tom Homan, he held a press conference this morning after spending several days assessing conditions on the ground and meeting with state leaders. Based on what he said, it appears Minnesota may finally be ready to cooperate.
What we did agree upon is not to release public safety arrests back in the community, and they could be lawfully transferred to ICE.
This is great news. It's just too bad Tim Walz wasn't willing to do this from the start. Now, Tom Homan takes that agreement with a grain of salt, saying he will not be leaving until these words are backed up by actions. And he's also approaching the situation with a surprisingly humble attitude.
First thing I said to senior staff when I walked in here is what I told you earlier. I didn't come here looking for photo ops or headlines. I come here looking for solutions. I do not want to hear that everything's been done here has been perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book.
Homan, and by extension the president, openly admitting that changes are needed. This doesn't signal weakness, do not worry. It actually signals accountability, which is exactly the opposite of the authoritarian caricature the media's been pushing. An authoritarian doesn't admit mistakes or talk about making the operation safer. Instead, they just double down, refuse to adjust, and shout down the criticism. This blows up the left's entire narrative around the whole No Kings protest storyline. And while Homan was willing to say changes were necessary, he also stood firm defending ICE and Border Patrol. He insisted officers do have the right to do their jobs without being harassed, spit on, or threatened. And I was glad to hear there is a strategy in place to prevent agents from getting overwhelmed by these leftist agitators.
Rotations happen all the time to get people out here and go home, get some rest and see their families. Day after day, can't eat in restaurants, day after day, having people spit on you and blow whistles at you, day after day, having all these threats at you, day after day, having people trying to interfere with you, day after day, they're human. So, we've got to rotate these people.
I'm so glad to see that these agents are finally getting well-deserved breaks, because I think it's safe to say there is not a single liberal out there who could handle this level of stress every day without snapping. I mean, they're triggered by a red baseball cap, a pronoun slip, a mean tweet, for Pete's sakes. Take, for example, how the left handles accountability. Meet Nazra Ahmed. She's the Somali woman who went viral after Democrats paraded her out, claiming she was kidnapped and beaten by ICE. Well, guess what? Pam Bondi's team, they arrested her for obstructing ICE operations. In fact, she was one of 16 that were arrested in Minnesota yesterday. And notice, no Band-Aid, no marks, despite her dramatic claims just days ago.
They used a lot of force to arrest me. I actually got a scab that was healing while I was in jail. I got a concussion. It's really hard for me to speak because of that concussion.
She appears to have been miraculously healed because there's no visible wound on her face in these recent clips. A concussion? Ugh, that might still be possible. Listen to this.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
She's either suffering from a concussion or she is a proud graduate of the Leering Center because she just earned herself a front row seat in the FAFO Hall of Fame. And her mugshot, it's gonna fit perfectly alongside the rest of the geniuses who thought they were above the law. History's already reserving them prime real estate in the dumbest decisions section. Now guess who else thought they were above the law? Fulton County, Georgia. A federal judge authorized the FBI to seize 2020 election records yesterday. Now, quick refresher for those who need it. Fulton County claimed a water main break on election night and evacuated the building, except for a small crew who apparently didn't get the memo. They stayed behind, pulled suitcases out from under tables with black tablecloths, and started to do what appears to be stuffing ballots into machines. Here's the criminal search warrant issued yesterday by the U.S. District Court after a finding of probable cause. Now, the warrant cites federal election laws and authorizes seizure of ballots, tabulator tapes, ballot images, voter rolls, and electronic data from the 2020 election. Two things stand out here. First, the scope. This is a comprehensive evidentiary sweep, not a narrow inquiry. And then number two, the timing. 6 years after the election, which is highly unusual, absent new evidence or unresolved record retention issues. Now, Fulton County Chairman Rob Pitts, he says the 2020 ballots are no longer safe and secure because they're out of his control.
Now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer, and I can no longer, as chair of this board, satisfy not only the citizens of Atlanta, but the citizens of the world that those ballots are still secure.
So Fulton County gave themselves an A+ for handling the 2020 election, and then immediately hired one of Georgia's top 10 criminal defense lawyers after a judge unsealed the ballots. Makes sense. It's like giving yourself Employee of the Month and then suing HR because they want to see the paperwork. If your election was flawless, a transparent audit would just confirm it. No fancy lawyers would be needed. Now, Fulton County Commissioner Dana Barrett, she gets visibly flustered when confronted about voter rolls that appear to show people registered at empty lots to vote.
We went around Fulton County the last few weeks and we see that people are currently registered to vote in places like empty lots, homeless shelters that closed 10 years ago. What would you do if you become Secretary of State to address that?
I'm not going to reply to conspiracy theories.
It's not conspiracy, it's a current, you can currently go on the voter rolls, purchase them for $45 and go there with us. We will gladly take you if you want to go to...
I appreciate what you're saying, I'm not going to respond to.
You realize what this means, right? We're going to have to invent new conspiracy theories because the old ones are all just turning out to be true. And this news, it's already pushing Republicans to make last-minute changes to a funding bill expected to be voted on next week. In the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune wants to require U.S. citizenship to vote and is now adding the requirement of photo ID. This is huge. National photo ID would stop Democrat shenanigans dead in their tracks. Once you connect the dots, illegal immigration, voting, welfare fraud, gerrymandered districts, it is no wonder Democrats are melting down in the streets. If they don't like what Trump is doing, here's a thought. Try winning an election. That's what Republicans did. Shocking idea, I know, right? The midterms, they're almost here, and soon we're going to find out which Americans are actually awake and which ones are still letting the circus run the show. Let's hope the circus doesn't win. All right, that does it for me today. If you missed yesterday's video, it's up on your screen. You can click on it now and I will see you over there. For the rest of you, have a great rest of your day. I will actually see you back on Monday. My kids have a gymnastics meet this weekend, so we are headed out of town. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you Monday.